gentlemen, we want to welcome you to episode 4 of the Fountain of Wisdom and Knowledge podcast. As always, we use this podcast as a beacon of knowledge, logic, wisdom, truth, and understanding, business, and personal development. And we are your hosts. I am Mr. Raphael II.
And I'm Truman Lewis.
And we're going to jump into this thing. We want to apologize for the hiatus. We've been working on some things. The dam is about to break.
It's about to break.
The mountaintop is within fingertip reach.
I can feel it. I can touch it.
So we've been working on some things. And, so we are going to be back to our consistent episodes per week. So thank you for staying with us. Once again, please please subscribe. Please share our content on your Facebook pages, your Twitter pages, your Instagram, everything. We try to build an audience. We're working hard to get this thing going.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we want to give a big shout out to our sponsor once again, Go Get Dash. Go Get Dash is a ride-share delivery platform. Similar to Uber and Lyft, but they have a little bit of a different take on the delivery platform, on the delivery end of it. And we're working specifically with a certain niche group. So we're still looking for drivers. So if you are looking for a way to generate income for yourself, please go to the Google Play or Apple Store today. Download the Go Get Dash driver app. Go Get Dash, all one word, driver app. Sign up. And it's there for you.
That's right.
So how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How about you, bro?
All is well.
Hey, it seemed like it's been a minute, right?
Yeah. It feels like it, right?
Well, we're back. We're back. We're back to drop some of this good knowledge.
But we came with the topic. In order for things to change, well, you came with that topic. In order for things to change, you must change.
You must change.
And I wanted to kind of get a basis of where that came from. Like, what was the thought that spurred?
Man, you jumped right into it, didn't you? That quote came from one of my favorite motivational self-help in the self-development arena called Jim Rohn.
Right.
You know, he's dead now. He's deceased. But that was one of his biggest motto. In order for things to change, you must change. You must change. Why? Because things is going to pretty much be the way it has been for the last 5 years, last 10 years. In order for things to change, you must change.
Right.
Prime example. The moon goes in. The moon goes in, right?
Right.
Well, let me say it different. The tide goes in,
right, and
the tides come out, right? Well, that has always been. The sun's rise, the sun sets.
Right.
That has always been.
Right.
An individual that comes up and say, "Hey, what is that big bright light in the sky? I don't like it." Like Jim Rohn said, I listen, I ain't the one, I'm not the one that put it up there. Your call ain't with me. For the last 6,000, 7,000 years, that's how it's been recorded.
Right.
Meaning, you're going to have to put yourself in a position to get in line with it. You're going to have to change. In order for things to change, you must change. Whether that's your lifestyle, whether that's your diet, whether that's the way that you intellectually look at things, how you articulate things. In order for things to change, you must change.
Right. Okay. So there's change, right?
Yep.
It's change for the better.
Yeah.
And you can change for the worse.
That's true.
So what is the, I guess, where's the point where I guess it would depend on the person themselves, but where's the point where you get to that fork in the road where it's, okay, I'm going to either go left or I'm going to go right. I know going left may not be to my benefit, and going to the right may be to the benefit. But going to the left is easy. I can see clear as day where I'm going. Going to the right, it's a little bit of turmoil. So, like, where's that point mentally where you have to get yourself to, like, you know what, I'm going to change, but if I want to change for the better, I have to understand there's a process with that.
When you make a promise comes with a price.
Right.
right? A promise come. If I promise myself I'm going to complete this goal, then it comes with the price. So when you get to that road of ethics or that fork in the road, then that's when you know exactly which decision you're going to make. If you get to a fork in the road and the left seems easy, right?
Yeah.
But it's totally against your goals.
Right.
You go look to the right and you say, hey, boy, this thing right here looks complicated, but this is the goal that I set for myself.
Yeah.
To me, when you do it that way, because you've already counted up the cost, because you've already got a great enough why, that why could be you just want to be able to provide for your family.
Right.
That why could be you got a doctor treatment that you need to pay for. But when you get to that fork in the road, if you've truly done the work, if you've truly made the promise and the commitment, it's going to become easy or easier. Let's say easier.
Right.
Okay? But in order for things to change, you got to change. Because if you're going to keep getting to the same fork in the road and keep taking the same right turn, then you're going to get the same outcome each and every time.
Right. Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And looking from a person who I've had to do much changing, and I think I told you this, like, you know, we've been endeavoring in business things together, and I told you, like, had I been the same person I was 5, 6, even 7 years ago, I never would have been as forthcoming with, you know, funds or
that's right,
you know, money, whatever. I wouldn't have been as forthcoming. So, but that was a painful transition for me. You understand what I'm saying? Because I had to go from, you know, even because with money, with me specifically, money is I like to see it. You know what I'm saying? I like to see the M's, but it's not even like but then I had to go through that process of, okay, all profit is derived from risk.
That's absolutely true.
I had to go through the process of holding on to it as tight as you can. There's nothing else that can go inside.
That's absolutely
same way it won't come out. There's nothing else that can go back in.
That's right.
So how do you deal with the pain of that? The pain of that transition, that change from this is what I've been doing, this is all I know, to now I'm trying to be a completely different person in a lot of cases.
Steve Jobs said you can only connect the dots going backwards. You can't connect them going forward, right? So when you look, the reason why you made an intelligent decision to change is because you noticed that, hold up, this is how I was for so many years. And where did it get me? Okay, it might have kept money in my pocket, but I didn't gain any more resources.
Right.
I didn't gain no network capability. I didn't take any chances. You have to take chances. You have to take risk. Calculated risk, but risk nonetheless. So you came to a conclusion at some point that, hold up, in order for this thing to change, I got to make a different decision. And when you make a different decision, that means you've taken a conscious decision, took a conscious decision to change. Right? So you've changed. When you change, you know your outcome can't be the same. And if your outcome do become the same, you know what not to do again. But if you never took that chance, then how would you know?
Yeah. And that's I'm thinking about, you know, me in my growth as just becoming who I am.
Absolutely.
To this point, it's been a situation where it's like, okay, looking at from where I come from, like my family lineage. Like I think I told you this before on another podcast. I don't come from a long line of hustle. I don't come from a long line of just money getters. I don't. For me to change my future, I can't do what everybody else is doing.
That's right.
And it's hard, man. I'm telling you, because I remember it was my mom. This was before she passed. My mother passed in '99, so this was probably like the mid '90s. And I'm from Charlotte. grew up in Charlotte my whole life. Well, the part that counts anyway. And we lived in a house in Hidden Valley. Hidden Valley is the area of Charlotte. Mm-hmm. We lived in this house for probably about 4 or 5 years. Now, there was an older lady who lived to the left of us, our neighbor. She owned her house. She owned the house to the left of her. And she owned another house on the corner where her daughter and her grandchildren lived. I remember there was a conversation with her and my mother where she told my mom, she said, I'll buy that house and sell it to you. And my mother told her no. Mm. And it didn't really hit me until like just maybe in the last couple of years. I was like, at that particular moment, she probably could have bought that house for $20,000.
True.
It was nothing. You know, Charlotte wasn't what it wasn't what it is now then. And that house, I looked it up. That house is almost $300,000 now. Wow. And it was just like I don't want to blame my mom so much as because I understand she wasn't a visionary.
She didn't know.
You understand what I'm saying? So me having to change, like that's where I come from. So me having to pull myself out of that, because a lot of that it's still there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like I'll squeeze a penny till it's flat. You understand what I'm saying? But having to pull myself out of that and change the way I think, man, it was a really, really hard, like a path to follow.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, and I didn't want to cut you off.
No,
let me say this. That can also become your strength. Mm. Okay? There was a fight that happened earlier, well, this weekend, right? Mm-hmm. With Spencer and Crawford.
Right.
And they were one of Spencer's most greatest attributes was his jab. Mm-hmm. See, that's his strength, right?
Right.
That's his strength. But if you take away the jab, then it becomes his weakness. Mm. If I know how to put you in a situation where your jab don't become an attribute to you, it becomes a weakness to you. Right? Because I've limited it. Well, it's true for everything. You can take that same experience that you've had and cause it for good and make it put you in a situation where you see more what your family couldn't have seen or saw. You're doing it now because you're pulling on that remembrance or that memory of how things used to have been, or how your family used to do things. Right. And you say, hold up, I can't keep doing this. I got to break these generational curses, right? Because with your children, your wife, you want them to be able to say, listen, my job as a provider is to put up not only for my children, but for my children's children. Mm-hmm. And when you can put up for your children's children, you're not worrying about your children. And when you're not worried about your children, that certainly means you're not worrying about yourself and your immediate family, your wife. Right. Why? Because you've looking so far down the road that you're able to penetrate the future, the veils of the future, and see, okay, this is where I'm gonna put my family to. Yeah. But you can't do that, or it's hard to do that if you wasn't placed in that situation.
Right. So with changing, I mean, there has to be a basis of knowledge for the change.
True.
So what are some of the things that you use? I know you speak about Jim Rohn. We talk about, you know, the motivational speakers, you know, E.T. and Bob Proctor. So, I mean, what are some of the other things that you use to kind of, you know, fortify your change?
Man, let's just use right now, okay? Right. A lot of people out there know my story, you know, and again, you're going to have the exclusive for my story. We need to get on that, right?
Right.
We need to get on that. But I can remember when God allowed me to go to prison, right? When I went to prison, they gave me a 10-year bid. God only allowed me to do 6 of that, right. 6 and some change. Right. But me being in prison, I was not going to let that define who I was going to be the rest of my life. I wasn't going to just be another individual and say, okay, he went to prison, it's over for him. No, I used that as fuel. I read the books. I listened to the audio. I self-taught myself. That's why I'm big now on what I call alternative education, because everybody is not going to go to college.
Right.
But there's many people out there right now that's multimillionaires that have taught themselves and has been able to raise a new army of individuals that has learned to think independently of the status quo.
Right.
Prison changed me. Prison put me in a position where I said, listen, the feds took everything from me, and my wife and my children was homeless. My son died, drowned and died. 1 month of me being in prison. God allowed my wife that I didn't even know. I didn't know she knew how to do CPR. But she gave my son CPR when he had already drowned, went in the bottom of the pool, came back up. For you to be floating, you have already went down. He was blue. God brought my son back to life. Right then, God allowed me to know that he could take care of my family better than I could. Change happened to me behind the prison wall. I have an unfair advantage. And my unfair advantage is, number one, I've had a spiritual encounter. God has filled me with the Holy Ghost. So I speak in tongue and things of that nature. So I have an unfair advantage. I know there's something out there greater. So I know change is possible. It was nobody but God that kept me through all that prison bed. Change, I'm telling you, in order for things to change, you must change. Right. But I could have stayed in prison and get what you call it, post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Right.
That could have happened if I allow my circumstance at that time to define me. So your circumstance is going to do one or two things. Either it's going to strike fear in your heart and cause you to fail, or it's going to put you in a position to elevate. I chose to elevate. I'm choosing to elevate. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah. So with change, I think it's important to understand that it's a concerted effort. It's not something that's just going to happen. It's not just something you're gonna wake up one day and be like, oh well, I want to do. No, it has to be a forethought. Like you have to make up in your mind that you want to change. Yeah. With the making up of the mind, do you necessarily think that it has to be something from outside that has to happen in order for you to want to change?
I believe people change two ways. We had this thing that they say, people don't change because they want to. People change because they feel the heat. In other words, something happened in his or her life that made them change.
Right.
Huh? Because you're going to only change through two ways. Either something is going to happen in your life that's going to be mind-changing, mind-altering, right?
Right.
Or you're going to just say, you know what? I'm going to change through repetition. Doing something over and over and over. But even in doing that, there's a mindset there. There's a mind switch there. There's a transformation of your mindset.
Right.
So my belief is, from all my research and speaking from my point of view in my life, there has to be something that happens in your life that calls you to change. A person that has a heart attack, think about it. You can have a person that's obese,
right,
and they have a heart attack. They have a heart before the heart attack. They was eating everything they want to, right?
Yeah,
and that chicken is good. That cake is good. That ice cream
absolutely.
is good. I'm telling you, I know. But then, if something happens, you have a heart attack, and God keeps you, then you're like, listen, man. The doctor, listen, one more episode like that, listen, it's over. Then you make the appropriate lifestyle change. So change usually come from either something happening in your life traumatic,
right,
or you wake up one day and say, listen, I'm going to try something new. I want to see what it feels like to be successful. I want to take the classes to do A, B, C, and D, things of that nature.
Man, with change, the people around you can be the reason why you don't change.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
So what do you have to have around you physically, or whom do you need to have around you physically in order for your change to actually take effect and like really, send you in the direction that you want to go?
My belief is this. If you don't know what you want to do in life, but you know someone you want to be like,
right,
emulate that person. Because if success leaves clues, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be a professional boxer, study Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Study Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to be a good Christian, study scripture. If you want to be a good philosopher, study Aristotle, Socrates.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good mathematician, study Pythagoras.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
If you want to be a great photographer,
study Raphael. Hey,
Raphael. But I'm saying anybody who has been great in any endeavor has had a mentor. Even your greatest, President Obama got a mentor. Grant Cardone got a mentor. Jim Rohn had a mentor. Les Brown had a mentor. Eric Thomas got a mentor. Everybody has a mentor. Why? Even Michael Jordan had a coach.
Yeah.
Had a trainer. Why? Because they can see things that you can't see.
Right.
They can put you in a position that you wouldn't otherwise notice, that you would not have otherwise noticed if someone wasn't there to see it. Don't go that way, Raphael. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you can always hear me say, in order for things to change, you got to change. Yeah. You got to.
Now, you spoke about mentorship. And with going back to my previous question of what do you need to have around you, you can have a mentor, but if that person's experience isn't viable enough for them to say, okay, you shooting your jump shot, but your hand isn't in the proper place that it needs to be for it to go in. How do you seek that?
Well, at different levels. As you continue to excel in your endeavors, at every level, a person is going to fall off. Think about it. We call it the Pee Wee League.
Yeah.
You got individuals that has been in these AAU. They started from a Pee Wee League.
Right.
Then once they get there, they went to the middle school. But the same coach that was in the Pee Wee League didn't teach that person in middle school.
Right.
And then you went to junior high, then high school.
Right.
But then the junior high coach, the high school coach fell off. Right? Then you had your high school coach. Then he or she fell off when you went to college. Then when you went to college, that person fell off after you end up going to the semi-pros.
Right.
I'm saying that you will identify it, or others around you will identify it when it's time for you to excel or go to that next level. Because you're going to keep hearing it over and over. His jump shot is not right. Or his defense is weak.
Yeah.
It's going to be something that you're going to constantly hear over and over and over and over again. So you're going to realize that, okay, the common denominator in everything, everybody's saying I can shoot the nice jumper. But they're saying my defense ain't hitting nothing. Then you got to have a coach for that. That's the same way it is in life. You might have a good marketing skills, but you may have good marketing skills, right? But you may not have good branding skills.
Right.
Or I may have good branding skills, but don't have good marketing skills. You know, in every endeavor you go through, you have to be able to perfect it. And there'll be individuals around you that'll let you know that.
So, in closing, change is painful.
Can be.
Change is it's a long endeavor as well, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not something you're going to want to happen overnight. If you wake up and you look yourself in the mirror, you're a whole nother person. You're going to scare yourself. What are your final thoughts on like the process of change and giving people, our listeners, the kind of
Don't be afraid of change. Let me tell you why I say don't be afraid of change. Because with or without you, you're changing, whether you're conscious of it or not. Your body,
this is very true.
You're not, if you go back 20 years ago, that Raphael body cannot fit in the Raphael body. Your bones has changed.
Yeah.
The structure of you have changed. Your knowledge have changed. Your intellect has changed. Yeah. Your deliverance and the way you articulate has changed. The difference is most people allow life to change them unconsciously. Always be aware of who you are. Be aware of the change that's around you. Be aware of what you want, what you would have, or what you want to do in life.
All right.
If you want to be a photographer, then you need to change accordingly. Just don't let life come along and just dictate things for you. Now, you look and you say, man, what have I done with the last 40 years of my life?
Oh, boy.
You look back and you see where you have made, where you've allowed life to dictate every turn, every stop. You never took the chance or you never took the opportunity to say, hold up, this is my life. I'm in control. Hold up.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of change. Be aware of it. Don't be afraid of it. Be aware of it. Be aware of it.
Well, I couldn't have finished it off better myself, brother. This has been, once again, the 4th episode of the Fountain of Knowledge and Wisdom podcast. Once again, please please subscribe. Please share these on all your social media platforms. Someone who you think might need to hear this information, to hear this content. And we do our best to just be a beacon of light in the darkness.
That's right.
Personal development, business development. Once again, shout outs to Go Get Dash, our
That's
sponsors. Right. Go Get Dash, all one word in the Apple Play, in the Apple and Google Play Store. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week.